Yesterday, I asked you guys to give me your hot takes for the upcoming NHL season, and you all did not disappoint. There's almost 200 comments on the post that I made, so in this video, we're going to react to some of your guys' hot takes. I'll give you guys my input on them, and be sure to stay tuned to the channel or subscribe if you haven't already, because sometime later on this week, I'm going to make a video giving you guys my hot takes for the upcoming season. As always, I want to give a huge thank you to every single one of you who took the time to leave a comment on the post. You all make these videos so much fun for me to do. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the first hot take from Barzell Prod, who says, Isles make a big run in the playoffs, Barzell and Horvat pop off. This was the most liked comment on the entire post, so it seems like a lot of you guys are maybe agreeing with this hot take, and it's certainly not out of the realm of possibilities. I'm not even sure how hot of a take this is. I mean, the Islanders are a team that have made the playoffs in 4 of the past 5 seasons, obviously made it to back-to-back conference finals in 2020 and 2021, and they have pretty much the same core right now that made it to those conference finals, with the exception of Bo Horvat, who's obviously, a big addition for them. The early returns on that trade and the contract that was given to Bo Horvat, it didn't look great, to close out the season and in the playoffs, but it is hard, adapting to a new situation, going to a different team from a team that you were the captain of, who you spent your whole career with up until that point. So I expect to see a better version of Bo Horvat in New York this upcoming season than we saw after the deadline. He's going to have a full off season, train with the team, a full training camp preseason, all that kind of stuff. And of course, when you have Ilya Sorokin in net, you're going to have a chance to win every single night. So I wouldn't be completely blown away if this happened, but obviously, not banking on it. I think it's going to be tough for the Islanders to make the playoffs, let alone go on a deep playoff run. I can't see them finishing ahead of the Canes, Devils, or Rangers in the Metro. And then obviously the wildcard race should be pretty interesting with, teams like Buffalo, Ottawa, and Detroit getting better. Moving along now to the next hot take. This one comes from City of Eklund, who says William Eklund comes in second place in the Calder race behind Bedard and has a breakout rookie season for San Jose with 45 plus points. Eklund has great potential and has been developing nicely in the AHL for the past couple of years. I think this could be his big year in the show. I like this hot take a lot. Something I could see happening. William Eklund is uber talented. He's had 2 stints in the NHL now. He played 8 games this past season and then 9 games in 21-22. Some of you might be thinking, is this even that hot of a take? I mean, William Eklund is a blue chip prospect for the San Jose Sharks. Well, if I look at DraftKings Calder Trophy odds right now for 2024, first you have Bedard, then it's Luke Hughes, second, Devin Levi third, and then Fantilli, Simon Nemec, Matthew Nyes, Logan Cooley, David Jiricek, Brent Clark, and Shane Wright. So William Eklund's not even on the list. I'm definitely expecting Eklund to make the San Jose Sharks roster full-time out of training camp, but I'm of the belief that he probably could have already been on the team full-time either, this past season or even in 2021-22. In both of his stints in the NHL, he did not look out of place at all. The Sharks have definitely taken the real patient approach with William Eklund up until this point, which makes a ton of sense. They're not in any rush to compete. In the AHL this past season, Eklund had 17 goals, 41 points in 54 games. Would not be surprised at all if he plays, 70 plus games in the NHL for him to hit the benchmark that you said, 45 plus points. The next hot take we have comes from Jelly Jeffrey, who says Gabe Vilardi gets 40 plus goals and 70 plus points because he'll get top 6 minutes. This is definitely a hot take. I like Gabe Vilardi a lot. Obviously, he's coming off of a breakthrough season with the Los Angeles Kings. Only played middle 6 minutes, but he was an incredibly productive two-way forward. 23 goals in just 63 games, 41 points. I'm definitely expecting his ice time to increase quite a bit in Winnipeg, maybe be in the range of like 17, 18 minutes a night, but 40 goals and 70 plus points is a lot. Yes, he had 23 this past season in just 63 games, like I mentioned, with just getting middle 6 minutes, but he shot almost 19%. I don't think that's sustainable. If I had to make a guess on what I think Vilardi's goal and point totals is going to look like next season, if he stays healthy for the Jets, I would say, 25 to 30 goals in that range and 55 to 60 points, something like that. Next up, this hot take comes from Baxter, who says both Buffalo and Ottawa make the playoffs, pushing both Tampa Bay and Boston out. This would be absolutely insane, and I'm here for it. I think the Atlantic Division is going to be a bloodbath this season. Really, the only team in the Atlantic that I feel like nobody's really expecting to be anywhere close to the playoffs is Montreal, and I still even feel like that roster has the potential to, I don't think make the playoffs, but at least surprise some people and be more competitive than we might expect. The Boston Bruins are the team that I feel like most people are predicting to fall out of the playoffs in the Atlantic, with Bergeron retiring and Krejci's probably not coming back. Their center depth is pretty weak. The core is a year older, the guys that are there at least. So of Boston and Tampa, I feel like Boston is definitely more likely to miss than Tampa, but I mean, Tampa Bay, like their core is getting up there as well. I don't don't think their depth is going to be near as good as it's been the past couple of seasons. I think the Atlantic Division is going to be pure chaos this season. I'm really excited to see how it plays out. Moving along now to the next hot take. This one comes from Zach Goddard, who says, despite the positive roster changes, Columbus still finishes bottom 10 of the league because of their goaltending. Aside from the additions that they made, they're going to be getting Zach Werenski back and healthy next season, and then you have Damon Severson, who is going to be probably the best defenseman on the UFA market before Columbus decided to, trade a draft pick to New Jersey to get his signing rights and then sign him to that contract. They traded for Ivan Provorov, who's coming off a couple of down seasons, but we know what he's capable of when he's playing at his best, and I feel like on a team where he's not going to have to, play 23, 24 minutes a night, he's going to thrive. Offensively, aside from the top guys, I feel like they are going to struggle to score a little bit, but the biggest question mark, like you said, is certainly goaltending. Elvis Merzlikins is coming off of the worst season of his career. He had an .876 save percentage in 30 games. Korpisalo was really good for them this past season, but obviously they traded him to the Los Angeles Kings at the deadline, or around the deadline, I should say. So there's going to be a ton of pressure on Elvis to bounce back and get back to form. I certainly expect him to be better. I mean, this past season was kind of an outlier when you look at his other 3 seasons. For the Blue Jackets to make any noise and be a legit playoff threat, I mean, Elvis is going to have to not just be okay. I feel like he's going to have to be very, very good. So if he has another down year, then yeah, I mean, I could see this hot take coming true for sure, and then being a bottom 10 team again. This next hot take comes from Zor Games, who says, after a season full of injuries for Nikolai Ehlers, he scores 100 plus points. I would love to see this happen. I'm a big Ehlers fan. Obviously played as junior for the Halifax Moosehead, so I got to watch him a lot live growing up. He's always an incredibly productive player for the Winnipeg Jets when he's in the lineup. The problem is just him staying in the lineup. He hasn't played 70 plus games in a season since 2019-20. You never know though, if Ehlers plays a full 82 game season, with how skilled he is offensively and how scoring in the NHL just seemingly continues to rise year after year, I'd like to believe that Ehlers is the kind of player who, out of nowhere can maybe have a 100-point season. This next comment comes from the Tank 5642, who says, the Florida Panthers will miss the playoffs. Montour and Ekblad will be out for a large portion of the beginning of the season. They've replaced a lot of players with new faces, and we can't forget that Bob can't play like an MVP for the whole regular season. Panthers give me 2021 Montreal vibes. I'm sure Panthers fans aren't going to be happy to hear this, but I don't think this is that far-fetched, especially with Montour and Ekblad being out, for a large portion of the start of the season. Like you said, sure, they added some guys like Ekman Larson, Kulikov, Mahura, but man, with those two out, that D-core looks awful. Maybe the worst in the Atlantic Division. And as we know, the Atlantic Division as a whole is continuing to get better, and when it comes to Sergei Bobrovsky, you really just never know what to expect. So if he has a really bad season, I wouldn't be that shocked if the Panthers miss the playoffs after making the Stanley Cup Finals. The next hot take comes from Leo, who says, Alexis Lafreniere breaks out and has an 80-plus point season. I feel like a lot of people were saying stuff similar to this last offseason, and he did just put up a career high. Like, he has been putting up higher point totals gradually year after year. As a rookie, he had 21 points, sophomore 31, and then this past season 39. And based off everything we've seen from Lafreniere up until this point in the NHL, I don't think he's really the kind of player that's going to have an explosive offensive season, kind of like what Jack Hughes did after disappointing out of the gate after being a first overall draft pick. I feel like with Lafreniere, it's going to continue to be more of a gradual improvement. Maybe this season he's like a 50-ish point guy. I would be pretty surprised if he breaks the 80-point mark though, for sure. Moving on now, this next hot take comes from Owen, who says, Bouchard doesn't quite get there, but he threatens 100 points because of that ridiculous Oilers power play. I mean, he did have 17 points in 12 playoff games. If you spread that pace out across an 82-game season, that's a 116-point pace. Obviously, not really expecting him to continue to score at that pace, this upcoming season and seasons afterwards. But I mean, with how crazy that Oilers power play is, how talented Bouchard is offensively, I don't think it's crazy to believe that he could push the 100-point mark. I mean, we just saw Erik Karlsson break the 100-point mark on an awful Sharks team. Now, obviously, that's Erik Karlsson, not comparing Bouchard to him by any means, but Bouchard does have the advantage of being able to, feed the puck to Draisaitl and McDavid on the power play. Continuing on now, this next hot take comes from Gabriel Wood, who says, NHL 24 is going to be as good as NHL 14. As somebody who loves to play NHL video games, please, I am praying for this to happen. EA has to do something big to give the game a new feel. Like, it just feels like the same game year after year. Sure, they add, new features here and there, but after like a month or two of playing, it gets really stale. Maybe as I'm getting older now, video games just don't hit the same as they used to, and I'm sure that plays a little bit of a factor, but I feel like a lot of you would agree with me in the sense that it does kind of feel like the same game year after year. And now for the final hot take of this video, this comes from Blasphemy, who says Bedard will have a poor rookie season due to too much hype and the Blackhawks roster. So I feel like this one's kind of all subjective. It's sort of based off of what your expectations are for Connor Bedard heading into his rookie season. For me personally, I've kind of trying to keep my expectations in check. I don't think he's going to come in and, put up 100+ points or anything crazy like that. Would it blow me away if he did? No, because of how talented he is. But if he comes in and has, a 70-point season or something like that for the Blackhawks, I would say like that's a success on most likely what would be a really bad Blackhawks team. But if you're expecting him to, come in and put up 100+ points, then if he has 70, then you'll probably be a little bit disappointed. I don't really see a scenario where he has, as bad of a rookie season as somebody like Lafreniere or Jack Hughes had. If that happens, then obviously it would be a consensus of really disappointing rookie season, but I just think he's way too good for that. So that is going to wrap up this video reacting to your guys' hot takes for the 2023-24 NHL season. If you guys didn't see the community tab post, then let me know what your hot takes are down below in the comments of this video. Like I mentioned at the start, stay tuned to the channel or subscribe to the channel if you're new, because at some point this week I will be uploading my hot takes for the 23-24 season. So keep an eye out for that if that's something you're interested in. Please be sure to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed. That is the best way to show your support. And most importantly, if this is your first time checking out the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you all soon.